Alright, so I'm back. This is after I had posted my Reddit comment, so that was in between this, so I'm able to watch the rest of the thing. I've made little notes on that. I won't do notes on this since I'll have the whole video up after this. I'll just splice the two together. So it should be about 5:10. It should be about where I left off earlier. Um, so maybe a little. But okay, so again, this is another thing where you like to flank. If you were playing something like maybe Soldier, right, this would be like an alright place for you to be sitting. Or someone who's more pokey, someone like Soldier or I mean even your Sojourn could be sitting over here, right? This is not a place for Ana though. This is especially when they have like a dive heavy comp like their Winston. And again, notice how you're sitting like with when the Genji had dove you earlier. You're sitting on the other side of one of these barricades. That makes it very hard for your team to peel for you if you end up getting dove. So just be sitting back here. This would be a good spot, probably right here on this corner would be good. Otherwise, honestly, yeah, that would probably be your best bet. And as the cart moves, you can kind of like change your position as the cart moves a bit forward and your team gains more space. But yeah, being out here, like you shouldn't be ahead of your tank because your tank is back here, right? And even your DPS is, but at least your Sojourn has mobility that she can get back behind. So I just definitely would not recommend trying to take little flanks and whatnot. There's not much you can do with your Sigma there while these anti. And something I noticed a couple times is that you've just now, but then also like maybe 10 seconds ago as well, you scope in on her Pharah and then you kind of you don't actually shoot. I'm not sure if that's something with your mouse not clicking or if you're hesitating to do it, but there are times where you could have shot her, but you just don't shoot. You have your scope and it even looks like you're aiming on her, but I'm not sure what that is. But definitely spots you could have been hitting your shots on her. It's good. So the nade I think was a decent attempt, right? Because it's just the Junkrat that's here, so it's all right throwing that at him. Your sleep dart though, again throwing it randomly up here is not a good shot because you have a 14 seconds, well 12 seconds now left, and the odds of hitting that are extremely low. There's no splash or anything, so that's yeah. I would peek around the corner here, be ready to heal your Sigma. Well, move the card a little bit, but then also yeah, as soon as you can. Yep, good. Healing your Sigma. Be ready for this. Yeah, this is a hard one to hit right now. You want to definitely wait till he's closer, right? Because he has, I mean, he's barely peeking out above cover, and you can see that he's walking back into where you won't be able to hit him. So this is definitely a sleep you want to save until he's actually closer. Now that your Pharah is going in, you probably want to help your Pharah. And never mind, he's already dead. Alright, so now again, you've reached another corner, right? So this is something that Overwatch has a lot of, right? You have these L shapes here. This is where Ana excels at staying alive, right? Is she has range and can use these walls, right? So generally speaking, the only reason like when you move up, you're wanting like if you were here, right? And your tank was moving up to here, like yeah, you wouldn't want to be behind this wall anymore. Like when your team is here, you want to be sitting behind this wall, right? Or moving up here, um, so that you have cover to actively go to. But obviously, like the other thing that Anas will fall into is being too passive then, and they'll sit here even when their Sigma's where your Sigma is, right? And then they'll push around the corner and they'll be like, oh, he walked out of the line of sight, but actually it was on the line of sight themselves. So like once you're taking space and moving up here, like it's okay to be moving up as your team is getting closer to turning this corner. But then when you come here to this next corner, you have all of this open space, right? So when their team is going to be, you know that their team is going to be sitting here, maybe taking this flank, maybe coming up here, probably not up here though, not very often. For the most part, like this is the main choke, so they're going to be coming here. And if you look right now, you are like right there, especially with now that they have an Ashe. That's a very easy spot if she's coming out of spawn for her to just start shooting at you, and the Sojourn are the only two targets out there. And seeing as your Sojourn has mobility, you're probably the easier target for them. So that's just something to be aware of. Positioning is always have some kind of cover. At least if like the cart comes around the corner, then you could be sitting. I mean, you could even be just sitting on the cart here, like just peeking out around the cart so that you can just duck back behind the cart whenever if you start getting shot at. But you just don't want to be sitting in like direct sight lines, unless like this is fine because yeah, right, you have the cart now. Yeah, and this is something that's it's a micro nitpick, right? It's not a huge thing. But when you see your so now you see your Mercy pocketing the Sojourn, right? Start healing your Sigma because generally Mercy is very good at pocketing DPS individual targets, and then like Ana has a very high healing output. She's actually better at just going straight to the tanks and pocketing the tank for most of the game. Pharah, that's not your fault. She's just way out there. See that, so this is good. This is good reaction of you, right? To end up to when you come here and you back around this corner when the Winston jumps. So that's good. Like you know that this is the good correct spot to be positioning. Missed the nade, but it's all right. It was a good attempt on it. Um, yeah, I wouldn't nano this here because I know you're trying to make an impact on the fight, right? But hoping that your Sigma, but your Sigma's not going to take all of this because I mean it's just you and I believe your Echo's still coming back from spawn, right? Yeah, so it's essentially the ulting Winston back here. So it's you're expecting your Winston to take on three people here, right? Or I mean your Sigma to take on three people, which it's possible, but it's probably not going to happen. So at this point, when you're already down and it's literally a 2v5, I would not. Uh, I would save Nano there. Just expect it to be up. So yeah, it's at that point where that I mean I would say like if you were actually trying to win this fight right here, you ignore the Bob because A, you're not gonna kill him, right? The only thing you could do is sleep if you had it up, which you don't. So just shoot your Sigma and heal him. But at this point, you don't actually want your Sigma to live. You both actually should be dying here and going back to spawn so that you don't get staggered from your teammates. Because again, it's a 2v5. But if you were trying to win this, then yeah, the correct play would be just to heal your Sigma so you could stay alive longer. Yeah, so your Echo's staggered. Yeah, again, you just want to be backing up. Your teammates should not be diving, and this is definitely silver because notice how you have now cycled through pretty much everybody. So your Echo has died first in the team fight, right? And then your Sojourn dies, your Mercy dies, right? Your Echo comes back as your Sigma is about to die, and then your Sigma dies, and now your Echo's the one left with you, and then your Echo dies, and when she comes back, she tries to go in by herself, and then your Sojourn comes back, tries to go in by herself. You see the pattern of staggering here is where your team just needs to group up and stop because you guys are just essentially all of this is just free gameplay for the enemy team because there's zero chance that they're going to lose. So this is in it from what I've been told, at least like the best time to go in when your team just won't stop staggering if you tell them to stop, like and try to get them and they won't is here where your tank comes back, right? And whenever your tank comes back, then that's the time to go in with him. That was good. You could, sleep anti, try and go for him. Sorry, yep, just let your passive kick in, heal your Echo a couple times, and then go back to your Sigma. There you go, perfect. That wasn't really needed, right? When you're here, see heal. Like I get the thinking, okay, well, I wanna heal my Sigma, but he's already like 3/4 health, right? And they have bubble up, so you don't need to nade your Sigma. You don't need to. You can't hit the enemy team because they have bubble. Plus, it ends up missing both. I don't think there's I mean, you can shoot the Junkrat trap right here, it's just so somebody doesn't land in it, but... Otherwise, your Sigma's coming in. So you had ammo here, right? Just be shotting your Mercy, right? You just kind of take that last second and don't shoot her again. It's like you stop trying to heal her for some reason, and then I'm not sure if you were trying to avoid the Junkrat spam, but then you end up walking back into it anyways. Alright, so we're going defense. Okay, so this is this is another spot where again you look at it from the enemy's perspective, right? They come in and you are sitting right here, right? Like your Orisa can take damage, right? And maybe you're trying to help your Orisa. Let me just say that this is a terrible spot for the tank to play. I don't know why they're up here. Unless they're just trying to pepper in a few shots, right, to get a little bit of ult charge and then backing off. Otherwise, this is not a spot to hold. Like, it doesn't work. Especially because your team, if anything, has to then try and, like, sit here on this corner, and the team can just walk around them. They're forced to drop down anyway, so there's no point in being there. This is good positioning from these two. Your Sojourn is late. Not much you can do about that. But this is a good spot for Ana as well, or back here playing behind this sign is also a good spot for Ana, depending on how your team is playing. If your team is something like an Orisa, they're probably going to be pushing forward a bit around this corner when they can, so this is actually a better spot, and then if you need to, you can move back here, right? And the reason this is also really good is because if your team gets pushed back off this, you can just drop down here, and you're already around the next corner, right? So we'll just watch this a little bit, see how this plays out. Yeah, so like this sleep puts you on a 14-second cooldown, right? The only person that can follow up on this sleep is your Orisa from a very long range, so she's not going to be able to like insta-kill anybody, so there's no reason to be really doing that. Especially when both his supports are going to be on top of him because he's coming out of spawn, and then you just put your sleep on a 14-minute cooldown, or a 14-second cooldown, for not much reason. It's good that you're backing up behind the wall. Again, this is absolutely Orisa's misplay, and now you just try to keep her alive as long as you can. Yeah, ooh, I think when you silver, that's not a thing you're gonna see is tanks playing up here, right? I mean, the only thing you can really do is call on comms like, hey, try to pull back a little bit because I can't heal you when you're up there. You don't sacrifice your position for it, but just realize now, okay, we're down 2, we gotta back out, right? A 5-on-3, you need to back out and get ready to leave. Yeah, it's, if you don't leave, then yeah, you die right away, that's fine. Like, the team fight was lost. Random nade, that's fine. Is that, like, this spot is normally better if, I mean, it kind of depends on how your tank's playing, but if your tank is not someone that can really push out, unless you're holding this corner here, like your tank is down here, right? He's not really making any space here, so most of the fire is going to be coming up here, and they have snipers down here, like they have an Ashe that's going to be shooting probably at you. So this is not the greatest position, and generally like down here is better to be sitting at for this point, but also generally your tank's going to be trying to hold this or this or this. Like, you're not like, this is something your soldier would do, and it'd be alright for your Mercy to be here just pocketing the soldier, but I mean, it's not the worst place, it's just part of it's you're probably going to run into line of sight issues at some point. And now your Roadhog's in by himself. There's a Junkrat trapped right underneath you. That's something, also something I've noticed that you haven't, just if you're going against Junkrat, there's been a few times where you've walked right by. Yeah, the sleep dart's kind of random too. You could have used that on the Moira instead and tried to sleep her instead of just randomly throwing it. Now you notice, so both of the supports are up here with the soldier, right? You're dealing DPS or trying to shoot the Mercy, I think, over here. Your Sojourn is over here with no help whatsoever. Like your Roadhog is somewhat self-sufficient, right? Because they don't have an Ana, so he can just heal himself whenever. But if you were over here with your Sojourn right now, right, you could be healing your Sojourn, you could be healing your Roadhog, and this would be a better spot to sit. Because you could actually, that's I think the biggest thing with your positioning is you're in places where you can't really help your team, or even right now when you can't help your team, like you're still not healing your Roadhog, you're just looking for the Mercy kill, right? So it's one of those, if you get the Mercy kill, cool. But if you're not able to get the Mercy kill, then, you know, are you contributing enough in other ways? So essentially you healed your Roadhog once and both of your teammates died. So you didn't try to help your Sojourn because you weren't looking at them, and your Roadhog you shot maybe once and then missed a bunch of shots on those. So, and part of that's, it's just Ana's like a really hard character to aim with, right? Like you're not going to, you know, especially for enemies. So if you're not confident that you can hit your shots on the enemies, go for the shots on your team when they need you, and then watch you know, and then go for shots on the enemy when your team is full health, you know, and they don't need your help. So at this point, like, it's just the game's, or this fight's lost again, right? So this is time to back up. Like, your soldier's in 1v4 at the moment, so there's no point in, like, yeah, he just needs to die. So this is good. Yep, just backing up. Just keep on backing up all the way until you reach your tank. Because they have that. They have their Winston that can just jump you at any moment, so. That's good, you almost got her. And now it's, yeah, time to hit your tank again. And this is, okay, so it's something I notice a lot with, like, the Winston, but then also with this Bob is, like, you don't need to, like Bob has this short animation, right, where he hits the end of his run, and then he stops right there, he does that little bump, and then starts shooting. Like, he's completely still, and then you can just sleep him, and there's 100% chance of you hitting him. But you try to go for these harder ones, and it's the same thing for the Winston, like, while he's jumping, when it's easier to just, if you wait for him to land, right, and then just be careful not to throw it into his bubble. Now yeah, I mean, you tried to go for the nano, that would have been good, but it would have given you a lot more time to take a better position and go the opposite way, if you had slept the Bob. And now your team is dead. You just need to die here. Yeah, just go in. So think of it this way. One of the biggest things that's been, like, for this entire game for your team is, right, like, this cart. There's two things to do when your team fight's lost, right? Because there's Mercy and Soldier over here, right? They're entirely pushed off. Your Mercy's about to die. Their entire team is still here, right? And then there's you at, like, a quarter health, right? So you're like, unless you can kill all three of these people and stop the cart, then you should be back. Just die and respawn with your team, because they're also, like, these two are going to die here. See, their Mercy's down, so all it is you and Soldier, and you're not going to take this point. So you just need to die, just run into their team and literally just face check their team and die. Like, that is the best move. And I know it's really hard to get used to, but the worst thing you can do is stagger and get separated from your team, so they respawn and go in, and then they're forced to go in without you to contest, right? Because right at this point, right here, this is where you need to stop the cart, right? So I mean, it's already going to be there now by the time you respawn, and the cart just keeps on moving. So that's why you generally just jump on the cart if you want to suicide, because then the cart won't move forward while you're waiting to die. So just fight your flight instinct. Yeah, so now that was, you know, an extra 8-10 seconds than the cart moved that you could have been stalling it if you had just jumped on. And at least when they kill you, then the cart wouldn't have gained that extra, you know, maybe 10 meters of progress. But again, I know it's really hard to fight the gut instinct to, yeah, just keep yourself alive. But again, Winston Nano here would be great, just to keep him alive. But yeah, I definitely would have nanoed somebody in that fight because that was still winnable. You still had everybody up. Especially your Winston would have been great, and then you could have just focused on shooting at your Mercy, because then your Winston would have gained health and been extra tanky, you know, taking half damage for a little while. So yeah, you see that this Winston is here, right, on you, right, in a spot where he's very close to you, and you throw a sleep dart all the way over here at this Ashe. That is not very likely to hit her, right? Like, his sleep dart is very hard to hit at long range, especially against small targets like Ashe. And so now he sees that, okay, she used her cooldown that can stop me. You're a free kill at this point, right? Luckily that you have your soldier here who helps you out. That's, just be aware of that. That would have been a very easy kill if your soldier didn't kill him. Yep, just heal here. That's good. Yep, just keep healing. Right, like you have your Mercy here, you have your soldier here. If that Moira dives on you, she's dead. There. It's a good sleep. But yeah, you gotta just, your Winston's just trying to get out here. Doing good. Nope, keep healing a Winston, keep healing a Winston, keep healing a Winston. Oh, he's up there. Like, this is something where you just keep shooting like your teammates, right? So he's critical. You do a good job once, but then you don't turn to look where he goes, right? Like, maybe he jumps out your LOS here, but you didn't actually know that. Like, I couldn't tell because you didn't actually look up to see if he needed your health. And now that your Winston is getting zapped, or your Mercy's getting zapped here, you need to like heal her, because you can actually out heal his damage. I mean, him and the Moira, they can out damage it, but at least your Mercy might get enough time that she gets her movement ability back up if you keep her pocketed here. But then you just shoot him instead of just go for the kill. And now your soldier is missing half of, well, like a quarter of his health here. So that's another thing we can look back. Where was your sleep dart used here? Pretty sure you used it again here. No, maybe not. Okay, that was actually a good one earlier because yeah, you ended up hitting the Moira. So that's just unfortunate that you didn't have that sleep dart ready. But so you guys might get one more team fight here. This is again, you want to wait for your tank if possible, unless you have to jump on the cart to contest it to keep them from winning. Your tank switches Rein. Again, that sleep, like, sure you hit the Winston, but what did that accomplish, you know? Like, imagine if you had Winston asleep on Winston right here, where he jumps in, you sleep him on top of your team, and then just throw your anti-nade, and he dies, right? Another thing, I think there's a Moira off here hitting you too. So the Moira, there's not much you can do about, right? But you can at least, like, get behind cover here. Like, I would still, or I guess you do, yeah, so that's good, but then, like, no need to walk out behind the Ashe, right? Just look, find the Moira, try and hit her best you can do. I mean, there's not a whole ton you can do in that situation, but just, yeah, whenever, as soon as you notice that Ashe, just stay out of her long LOS for as long as possible. Even if there's a Moira here, I'd rather 1v1 a Moira than 1v1 a Moira where the Ashe can see me as well. But either way, I think you're gonna die in that situation. So like I said, it's not the biggest deal. But oh, I said that was it. Okay. Um. So I'll look at your Dorado one real quick too. I'll just look at the first little bit because you said like there was a difference in gameplay. So I'll just watch your first maybe like minute or two on this and just see if there's anything different that can be commented on. Alright, so a little bit here is just the reaction, right? Like your Reinhardt's already taking damage, you should just be healing him. Just heal your Reinhardt. Like he's not going to make any aggression. He's aggressive moves as long as he's like that, And then you kind of look over here for a second. Just like your entire time, you should be focused on your Reinhardt and just keep healing him until he's full health. Random sleep dart again. Don't be throwing those. Yeah, you don't need to be really peeking that. Another random sleep dart that doesn't hit anything. I think it just hit this barrier. Very good anti. Then yeah, just try to help clean up. And then heal your Ryan, top your Ryan off, get the ult charge off him. There you go. I think we'll just watch the next team fight. That's probably all I have time for, but I just wanted to check this out because I know you said there were some different things. Again, a random sleep dart. Try to get in the habit of not throwing random sleep darts. Make sure they have a purpose. Since it's one of the longest cooldowns in the game, that anti misses. So I think your biggest thing that you should work on is just making sure that your cooldowns have more use, because a lot of your sleep darts miss and a lot of your anti-nades don't hit anybody either. So just focus on making sure your abilities, because she has some of the most powerful abilities in the game. Ana does. Is good. Like that one, that was good. I mean, she probably would have died either way, but at least like you got value from your anti, right? Probably nano your Ryan here so he doesn't die. That's alright. That also works. I mean, nano visor is good just to make sure you clean up the rest of the team. That's good. But yeah, so two biggest things. I'm just gonna end it here since it's been a while. But two biggest things. Definitely focus on ability usage. Make sure you're hitting most of your sleep darts. And if you're at a point where you die and you think, okay, if I could have had your sleep dart here, go back and watch your VOD and see like, okay, where I used it originally, or just think back and be like, okay, was it bad? Like, was it a good thing that I used my sleep where I did, or would it have been better somewhere else? And that's something that even I do, or even with my antis, I'm like, okay, was that actually a good anti? Did I hit anybody? Did I splash, enough? Did I get enough value of it? Was it a spot where my team could follow up? Those are things to think about with your cooldowns. And then the second biggest thing is the positioning, right? So like when you're coming around this point, you can be here, right? And then if when your Ryan is closing in up here, right? Like you can tell that now their Sigma is back, right? So your Ryan's going to be pushing up to this corner, then it's okay to start pushing up, like this way, um, with the cart. But if you were, say, taking a team fight right here, you would want to be sitting back here. This would be your safest spot, again, because you would look for these L shapes. Um, in the map. These corners are your best bets to be playing. If you're taking a team fight up here, right, you want to be sitting behind this corner. taking a team fight up here, you want to be sitting probably, I mean, either behind these pillars or over here. You're taking a team fight right here, right? You can be sitting over here. So it'd just be in spots where you can rotate then forward as your team pushes forward, but then you can be behind cover until your team starts is in a place where they can be aggressive, right? So you don't want to be too far back. I mean, you don't want to be sitting like back here when your team is all the way up here. But if your team is fighting right here, then you can play this corner back here, or you can swing out in this side depending on if they have flankers coming up from here. That's the main thing for positioning. You think like, where can they flank me from, right? Like, and then also but if you know the maps and know the different flank routes, be aware of where people can be coming for you. But then also, be aware of like, okay, if somebody comes out in high ground, where am I going to be? Different things to be aware of. But you want to be in a point where you can, be viewing most of your team, which at this point, it's normally you're in spots here where, at most you can heal one or two people while the other ones are behind you. And Ana is supposed to be, I mean, unless someone is sitting up here, like if your Hanzo's on high ground up here, right, shooting down, then like that's not on you, right? That's your mercy to go up and pocket him. But then at that point, you should be able to sit back here and then heal both your Ryan and your soldier. But at this point, yeah, you should be able to just try to be in spots where you can help as many of your teammates as possible. So make sure you can see them whenever possible. Um, so yeah, I hope this was helpful. Let me know if there's any questions you got.